Hello, everyone, and this is Vishnu Narayan. I'm the host of this show, and there is always a quick need for understanding how is this technology disrupting the market, right? And there is always that one understanding that is required, like, hey, can this market really have that niche understanding? Like, okay, I'm going to go to a person, I'm going to educate him. Can he deliver me hundreds of different products? And I think probably GPT-3 is one of an misunderstood concepts in the world of NLP because not everybody knows how to completely use it. Not everybody knows how to really get the fullest potential out of it. And I think Dennis is amazing NLP author, and he has been a lot and lot an inspiration. To be very frank, he's an amazing inspiration. If you really want to really understand what does an intelligent system look like, just see this entire session. That's it, because over a course of time you realize one thing, that it's just myth that we are going to build a superhuman, but it's going to be a fact one day after tons and tons and data of just being taken. Thank you so much, Dennis sir, for giving
Thank you.
us the session. It means a lot to us.
Thank you for inviting me. So what I'll do is I'll take you for a little 15-minute tour, and then you can ask all the questions you want, okay?
Sure, perfect.
Okay, so let me share my screen. Let me share my screen. Okay, share screen. Here we go. Okay, so now I'm sharing my screen. So you can see here where you can go to my LinkedIn profile if you want information. And you can see here, for example, that I invented a patent. This is an important thing. I registered a patent when I was a student. And you can see here the little numbers here. There's embedding in here. So I invented embedding in the early 1980s before anybody was even working on computers, okay, in the mainstream. So after that, I was thinking, yeah, but embedding is good. Embedding is good, but now I want to get on a computer. So I got all that on a computer, and I got into robotics. So right here, I got into robotics with cognitive artificial intelligence and links between all the elements. So we're talking about the artificial intelligence people are discovering today, like robots, AI, automatic AI. So I did this. This is 1986. So then at that point, I had embedding and I had powerful AI running, and I sold it to aerospace, okay, which became Airbus. And then from then on, it was just a nice little ride up to today. I never really had to sell anything to anybody. People just come up to me. So I had many. It went like from aerospace to Air France to Disney. Okay, so then at one point, I got to share what I was my experience and what I'd learned. And of course, this is after decades of corporate projects. Like you began speaking about corporate projects. Well, I got my corporate project when I was a student, starting immediately. Immediately, people were interested, and I had computers immediately. So at that point, I shared it in books. So you can find the books on Amazon. You just type my name, Dennis Rothman, and you'll find a lot of books. So I'm into Transformers right now. I have some videos too on YouTube you can look at. You know, they're worth what they're worth. You might get some ideas. And I write some articles from Amazon where, you know, like I believe in the rise of metahuman AI. I'm pretty sure that it doesn't have consciousness, but it's extremely powerful. We're going to see why. And you can help fighting climate change. You can do a lot of things with that. So let's get into, I would say, the tough things. So you can see here GPT-3. So you're looking at these GPT-3 examples and you're saying, well, how am I going to do anything with that? Well, most people aren't. You have to face it. Because to do something with this, for example, if you take questions and answers, what are you going to ask the machine here? Okay, you have it, but what are you going to put in there? What type of question are you going to ask? And how are you going to ask it? If you ask it in a poor way, you'll get a poor answer. Okay, so the basic thing is, if you don't know how to write the prompt, you can do anything here, grammar, but look on the side here. If we look at the code, all of a sudden we have these parameters that appear. What are they? How do you use them? How do you put all these combinations together? How does it work? Now, I would say very few people know how to do this because it's not development. It's thinking. It's like playing chess. It challenges your design abilities. It doesn't challenge your developer. Because all you have to do is copy and paste this in a cell, and you have GPT-3 running. Okay, it's just like learning chess with some pieces. I would say it's even simpler. I'm giving you the ingredients to make a traditional Indian dish. I mean, the real traditional one, which is extremely difficult to cook. I just give you the ingredients, but you don't know how to cook. So what parameters are going to put there? What's the temperature of your oven? How much max tokens? How much sugar you're going to put it? You don't know, right? And okay, so let's look at code now. So I'm taking you down to code level. So I did my introduction of myself. I did an introduction of OpenAI, and I want to take you where it hurts, because you can see all the hype in posts. You can see anything you want. Where it hurts is when you just copied and paste that in here, okay? And you want to do something. So I'm taking this math example that OpenAI knows how to do with GPT-3. Okay, there's something called the Da Vinci engine. But which engine are you going to use? That's your first problem. Which engine am I going to use? There's the ADA engine. GPT-3 is not just one engine. GPT-3 is a model. Okay, it's like saying, oh, I want to buy this car. And when you get to the car dealer, you say, yeah, but what do you want? Which model? Which? How do you want your model to be? Do you want the electric doors? What do you want? So you can find like 10 cars under the same model name. That's the same for GPT-3. Are you going to use ADA? I could put ADA there. Okay, and I will. I could put Babbitt. I could put Curie. I put Da Vinci. I can put Codex. I can put anything you want in there. But which one is going to work? You see the combinations? I already have like, say, 4 combinations. And now you want to write the prompt. How are you going to express that? I want the total capacity of 2 warehouses, 12,000. That is about the simplest I can find. How many people can really express themselves in simple ways? It's not that easy. But then what's P3? What's temperature? What am I going to do with the temperature? Is that the temperature it's outside? What's the temperature? So now I have the temperature. The temperature is a real number. It can go from 0 to something. So now you can multiply the engines by the number of temperatures. Let's say you take 3 different temperatures. So the higher your temperature, the more top probabilities it will examine. Let's say I want to drink, and someone says a glass of water. The next person says some water. The third person says, yeah, pour some glass in the water. You can see that these 3 sentences are almost identical, but they're not exactly identical. Each one could go into different directions. So when you say temperature, it'll go take those 3 probabilities. It'll just take one of them. It'll be stochastic. It'll be random. It's not. There's nothing intelligent in the sense that it's thinking. It's just going to give you 3 probabilities and choose one of those 3. But if you were speaking of a glass, maybe someone wanted a cup, so it could lead in other directions. So let's say we only have 3 temperatures times 4 engines. So now we have 12 things to think about. That engine with that temperature, because each engine like Ada, Babbitt, Curie, Da Vinci will react differently with that temperature because they were trained differently. So the temperature of one is not the temperature of another. So I do have 12 possibilities. Then I say, how many tokens do I want as an answer? I don't want many tokens here. Okay, I just want my answer. Okay, then you say, what about the top probabilities here? Yeah, but the problem is there might be a conflict with temperature. Suppose I wanted my temperature at 0, and now here I'm saying 1. What does that mean? That means I don't want it to think too much. I don't want all those probabilities. There's only one answer. It's not like your glass of water. It's 12,000 plus 4,000 is just 16,000. You can't give me 3 probabilities like that glass of water. So I want 0 temperature. I just want 1 probability. That's 1. That's it. And then you have the frequency penalty. Okay, how many times can you answer the same thing? So I want a glass of water, a glass of water, a glass of water, a glass of water. If you just let that frequency penalty go on, it will repeat the answer like 15 times. And the presence penalty is like telling someone stop saying the same thing all the time. And then these are not the only parameters. So you can see if you run this, you get the right answer. But what if I ran it? So I would say at this point, with the number of probabilities, you had 4 engines times 4 times, I would say you have 100 possibilities here. Okay, you have 100 possibilities, combinations of different values. How many people do you know that can do that? How many people can play chess and think of, I don't know, 100 combinations? Well, not many, right? So that's the main problem. Okay, now what happens if you change your engine? Okay, well, go to Ada. Ada is a cheaper engine, and it's good for creativity, but it didn't give me the sum. It gave me 12,000 plus 4,000, 15,000. Why? Because it's not as powerful. It's not as powerful as Da Vinci, but sometimes I don't need that power. Sometimes I want more creativity. So then I can go give you 2 more examples. Like one is content filters. I can tell you that today, every time I hear about AI, someone says, what about the bias? The bias in AI. It is biased. AI is biased. Wow. Well, AI is biased if you don't filter it. If you take, if you just let people say what they want, if you have a child and this child keeps saying bad words, you're going to filter the child. You're going to say, hey, stop talking like that. Well, I'm sorry to inform the people that don't know about AI that content filters, there's a special content filter available, a GPT-3 engine called Content Filter Alpha, which automatically can filter your content. And on top of that, when you begin to know it, you can add a parameter and you can exclude more words from your dictionary. So in fact, someone that implements GPT-3 intelligently can master it totally. There is no bias. It doesn't exist. It only exists in the minds of people that are using it in the wrong way, that don't even know they don't even know. I would say most people don't even know that this engine exists. So they go on GPT-3 and they test it and say, oh, it's biased. Yeah, sure. How much work did you do? You have to implement it in a pipeline. You have to have the content filter go right on your input. And then once the input is controlled, well, then you can send it to the engine. So in fact, you have a pipeline with the content filter that filters all the input, and you can customize it with your dictionary when you begin to beta test it. Then the input goes into the engine, then you can filter the output. In fact, you can even use it without GPT-3. You can use this content filter with anything you want. Okay, so we can finish here with a little example of code. Okay, you can translate here. You can see that I gave it something in Python and I asked it to translate it into JavaScript, and you get the JavaScript that comes out of it. Okay, so it can convert one language to another, but you can see now there's another engine called Codex, which means that it can do completion when you're developing. I use it with PyCharm. You can include it into PyCharm, and as you develop, the completion is not just one method, but it gives you a full paragraph. Okay, it can give you a full paragraph of what you want. So I would say, as a conclusion, that without the knowledge, the combinatory knowledge of these parameters, including the prompt, which the prompt is the beginning of the completion, but the prompt is part of the probability. If your prompt is wrong, you'll get a wrong answer. So you see, we're facing a very simple system to implement, copy, paste, and there you go. And you're facing an extremely complex system to design. So you're going from development to design. You're going from moving ingredients around randomly in a kitchen to saying, oh, how am I going to cook? You're going from just moving pieces on a chessboard to say, oh, I'm not going to touch the chessboard. I'm going to think first. So it's going to challenge your thinking skills. And only those who can manage combinatory logic in their minds with all these combinations, these are the only persons that will be developing pipelines for GPT-3. The others will work with that person because you can get a job with a person that does that and write all the interfaces. There's always a lot of work for people, but there's not that much room. It is a niche for people that can understand this. So now I'm going to go back to the session and I'm going to stop sharing. And now you can ask all the questions you want.
Yeah, many of the people, there is a lot of misunderstanding between what's the potential of a transformer and a GPT-3 is. I too have it. So even till today, I still have it. So how is GPT-3 different from the transformer? Like, how are these making that difference in the market today?
Okay, so on the market, if we're speaking marketing now, we're taking it to the market. There are two distinct worlds.
Hmm.
There are two very distinct worlds. You have Generation Z. How old are you?
I'm 22, 21,
Yeah, so
22.
you're
Yeah.
okay. You're Generation Z. So Generation Z can have this conversation because Generation Z understands that the world is changing at full speed and you're born in the world of social media and all that. Generation Y understands, but it's a bit more difficult. It's more of a intuitive conceptual understanding. Someone that's 35 or 40 and is a developer is going to have problems understanding all this stuff that's generating automatically and you don't control. So they'll most probably be project managers. Okay, so that's YZX is gone. X is gone. X is in science fiction. That's 1965 to 1985 born there. They don't understand it, and only very few. So I'm not going to go back to my generation because I'm a Martian in my generation. Okay, so now if you, in terms of marketing, no one I would say now, even in your generation, no one really understands. To do that, you do have to go to marketing studies. That's why in my
Hmm.
list of books, somewhere there's a book where I wrote books with Philip Kotler. Okay,
Hmm.
I wrote. Philip Kotler is the father of modern marketing. Philip Kotler, he's the one that invented many things in marketing before anyone was born here, and he was the one that changed the world from production to the user side. Okay, so anyone that studies marketing knows Philip Kotler. But how many developers study marketing? Not many. So what's going on is transformers are in Google search right now.
Hmm.
Google uses a Google BERT version of extremely powerful that is not available to the public. If you go to Hugging Face, you won't get it. Okay, you'll never even see it. If you go to Microsoft, you won't get their GPT-3, the one they're using for their Bing search, and they're combining it with so many algorithms that we don't have access to it, but we use it every day.
Hmm.
And while we're using it every day, we're saying, when is that going to become mainstream? That is that's a psychiatric problem because people are using it every day and they're asking when it's going to be used. There's a problem up
Yeah.
here. It's not connecting, you see? Here you have a smartphone. This is a Google phone, okay? Because it's cheaper than an iPhone and it has a fantastic camera. I don't believe in expensive smartphones. So I believe in powerful smartphones. And most people buy smartphones just to type on social media. They go on Instagram with a 1,500 euro iPhone, and they use it. But is there a camera? Do you think there's a camera on your phone? Do you have a smartphone?
Yes, I have a smartphone.
Show me your smartphone. Where is the camera?
It's here. It's here.
Okay, no, it's not there.
Then
Show me it again. Show me again. Yeah.
it's
Where's the
here.
camera? No, that's not a camera.
That's a frontal camera.
No,
Why? It's the camera, by the way.
I'm
This is a
giving you a
camera.
demonstration of what I'm talking about. There's no camera in a smartphone. You
Yeah.
have you have something right here that takes light, but there are no lenses. There's nothing. It takes light.
Mm.
Nothing. There's nothing. It's light. Light is coming in. It's like light coming in your window right now. And then it's packed with AI
Mm.
that will reconstruct an image and reconstruct the illusion of a camera. So in fact, today people are using extremely powerful AI on their smartphone for Google search.
Yeah.
Also, they're using it it's not a camera, it's a light captor, it's a sensor that converts light into images. Like, do you think that when you take a picture, you're taking a picture?
No, I
If you
don't think
do,
so.
you don't think so anymore.
Yeah.
If I'm doing this, okay, I'm doing this. I'm showing you where you're talking market, okay?
Mm.
Here. So now I'm taking a picture of the screen, right? You see that?
Yep.
But there is no picture. I haven't pressed on the button yet. So what's
Mm.
happening? What's happening is Google Phone is backing all these images up in memory. So I have now maybe 25 times 10, 200, 300 images here. And then it's going to average that out with AI, and it's going to take the best of everything it finds. That's why you get these beautiful pictures. It's not one
Yep.
picture. It's taking it. And after it's going to process it with so much AI that you can't believe it. But you still have people that are talking to you and say, where is AI? You know, there's nothing going on. There's no applications. You know, they have this in their hand that's packed with AI. They say, where's the AI here? We can't see it. No one's using it. Okay, so now you can see that the market is huge, but not for you.
Mm.
The
Got
market is
that.
huge for Apple. It's huge for Huawei. It's huge for Samsung, but it's not huge for you. It's huge for Google on Google search. What do you think happened? You're on YouTube, right?
Mm.
How do you think the recommenders work? They're packed with AI.
Yep.
Okay. And they're packed with huge models of AI. It's so huge that very few people, even at Google, understand how it works. Even the people
Got it.
that design it say, I don't really see how it got there. You know, there's so many parameters. So in fact, the market is so huge, you don't see it. It's like you're standing on the street, but you don't realize that you're on Earth, right?
Mm.
Or you're just sitting in your chair and okay, I'm in my chair. No, you're sitting on a huge planet, okay, that's going 20,000 kilometers a second somewhere around in the universe. You're in a huge thing here, but you're just sitting in a chair. So AI is everywhere, but no one sees it. And that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of marketing is having you use something without knowing it. So you just purchase and purchase. So billions and billions of dollars are being made and you're getting nothing.
Mm.
Now,
That's true.
if you want to get something, well, then you're going to have to go through a lot of pain. You're going to have to go through all those parameters, and you're going to have to learn how to play chess with GPT-3. It's not just, oh, I'm just going to type what I want. No, you're going to have to create the prompt. There's a lot of work I just showed you if you want to earn
Mm.
money. Now,
Sure.
fortunately
And
for
also,
me,
like,
I registered the embedding patent in 1982, and I registered an AI patent in 1986. So I admit that I've been playing that for decades. It's not for me, it's fun. And you were asking me
mm.
about books. It's so fun because I've been doing it all my life. So it's I, it's not even commendable. It's so easy for me. No one should even admire me. I've been doing. It's like someone's been cooking meals for decades, and you say, "Oh, you cook well. Where'd you learn how to cook?" Well, I've been cooking for decades. You think I was cooking well decades ago? So, what other questions do you have?
And the questions are, and Hare Krishna is asking, how can we define NLP model parameters today? Are we architecting and benchmarking it in the right way? So
An
Hare Krishna.
NLP, an NLP, an NLP application, right? Right. So this is just we're at a low level interview, right? We're not into theory and to how the
Yeah.
world is going to get better and climate change and do we need to is AI going to become conscious one day and control the world, right? We're in how am I going to earn money next week? So with my degree, and how am I going to get a job? So the problem here is another myth. For example, let me show you something. Let me show you something and you'll understand. It's better for me to show you the problem. Let me show you something very funny, especially since I'm talking mostly to people living in India, right, today,
Yeah.
and that people living in India speak several languages. So you don't even know it, but you have an advantage over everyone else because you speak several languages. So your first advantage is that you're Indian. Okay, this is not something, not everyone will understand what I'm going to show you now. Only Indians or maybe Russians that speak several languages. So you go to NLP, okay? You go to NLP, right? Do you see my screen?
Yes, begin.
So have you, people that study natural language processing, they say semantic role labeling, okay? All of this is natural language processing. Remember, we're not in a theoretical conversation, okay?
Mm,
So I say, I like AI, okay? You run the model. It's semantic role labeling. You're talking to a bird. Look how powerful it is. It finds the verb, right? And it finds the verb like, and it finds an argument to like, and AI. Fantastic. What do you think?
yes, this is
Now
good.
I ask you, what do you want to eat, cake or pie? And you say cake. Ah, no answer. Huh?
Yep.
Something's wrong here. What if I say, oh, let me add some more words, cake and tea? Okay. No answer. Well, maybe I was not clear enough, and I'll say, um,
I want to eat.
apple cake, and green tea. Okay, so I'm still getting nothing. Whoa, ho. So what's wrong here? Because this is the model car here. It's BERT. It's based on the most powerful thing here, and there's no semantic labeling here.
Mm,
And if you read the articles and Stanford and all these intelligent people, and yeah, you know why? Because there's no verb. Because we're talking to people in the West. We're talking to people in the West that think that every sentence is built on a verb. So
yep.
if I add the verb, now it understands. But if I say, what do you want to eat? And you just say apple, you don't say complete sentence, just, what do you want to eat? Well, apple cake and green tea. You don't say, please, would you kindly give me this and did it? Okay, so now we're going back to stop the screen. Okay, so now I just showed you how NLP doesn't work, right?
Mm,
So So now this problem here, you can expand it to millions of sentences where it won't understand. Now that weakness, GPT-3 is compensated. But let's take languages, Asian languages, like Hindi.
mm.
You can say sentences without verbs. in Hindi.
Yeah.
And
That's good. Yeah.
now go to a country next door that many Indians don't like called China. And in China, you don't need a verb. You're going to start with the main thing. What do you want? Apple. And then you're going to build around it when you're speaking. Big, green. So you can even say, apple, big, green, apple, big, green, and, okay. You don't even need a verb. It's an agglutinative language. Now you take that and you go and you try to fit Anglo-Saxon NLP in there, it won't work. So that's why GPT-3 doesn't bother with grammar rules. And that's why I told you before this recording that it's not so good on, it's not made for super glue, for these very structured, it's made to just learn from statistics. So if you want to go into NLP, I would advise you to study some linguistics. And if you're Indian, you have a huge advantage over everyone. And I'm sure you don't even know why.
Yeah. And I think
What is Sanskrit?
Sanskrit, it's a God's own language. It's
That's
a
where you need,
language where
that's where you need to talk to Generation X. Sanskrit is the basis of every single Indo-European language. It's the basis of English, German, Italian, everything. And in Hindi, it was probably derived from Sanskrit at one point. So you have Sanskrit. You're living in the country that is the base of every single language spoken in the West. But you think you don't know that. Okay, so you also have inherited a huge amount of language knowledge, because I know many Indians that speak more than two languages. They might speak 3 or 4 local languages. So I would say do some linguistics. Learn
yep.
how your own language works. Take a unit in college of linguistics, history of linguistics, and how they work and how they are structured. And you will find that most of the theory in the West doesn't take into account what's happening out of Indo-European languages like Chinese, Japanese, Vietnamese. So I would say go to linguistics. At least
Yep.
take one unit where you know as an Indian what Sanskrit is, where Hindi came from, and the different grammatical structures. Then you'll be fantastic. There's a reason why India is becoming a leader in services. And you
Got
don't
that.
even know it. Why? It's not because you're cheaper. Because we can, like I live in France, we get a lot of aids when we hire someone. And in fact, we can get very good prices. We get grants when we hire people. They lower the overheads. It's because you have a tremendous culture behind you, but you're not learning it anymore. You're sitting like on your chair there. You're saying, where is AI? It's all around you. And now NLP, you're living in it. I doubt an Indian can go to a big city and spend the full day without changing 2 or 3 languages 2 or 3 times. He
That's
goes
true.
from Hindi to a local language, then he can go out to a village, it's another one. Just look at where you live and learn the structure, the theory. You have to learn the theory of where you live. And that's
Got that.
that's a major problem I've seen with Indians. I don't understand that that by 2030 you'll be the 3rd world power. There'll be the United States. No, there'll be China, the United States, India number 3. So your generation, you, the rich part of India, you're the richest one. You're not living in a village with bad clothing on. Okay, you're the richest one. The richest one will take India to the 3rd rank. But you need to begin as an Indian to learn where you live.
Yep.
It's not by
That's true.
chance. You're not becoming number 3 just because foreign companies are bringing you business. They're bringing you business. Of course, you have good prices, but you have competence. And this competence needs to be examined. You're not examining your competence. So for NLP, please take a lesson on all the languages you're learning in India and look at the structure. Where did they come from? How are they built? Do they need verbs? Do they need nouns? How does it work? Some of them don't. I'm sure some of your dialects are like Far Eastern, where you don't need verbs. You can just agglutinate words.
Sure.
Tamil seems a pretty way of combination of words, not in an English structure.
Got
I'm
it.
not a specialist, but you need to go to your university and ask for it. Say in NLP, please give us at least a 10-hour course on how our languages are structured and compared to other languages. And are we really the roots of all the languages in the world? If you
Hmm.
look, what is why do we call them Indo-European languages? I'm sure you don't even know the term.
Yeah, I didn't know that till today.
Okay, so let me show you it again. The goal here is for you to learn. It's not, just for me to show off and sell another few books. So now you see Indo-European tree map. You see the word Indo?
Yeah. One second.
Yeah, you see the learn Indo here?
Yeah.
Okay, what is Indo in your mind? Is it you think it is American Indias? India? It's an Indian from India, India, the country.
Got it.
Okay, and look at all these languages that come from from your country. Indo-European. Everything comes from where? From India.
Got
There,
it.
there you are. Proto-European found. You're talking about NLP, and you're sitting on the roots of Western Europe, Western languages.
Got
How
it.
you should be? I should be asking you the question. Look at all these languages that come from where? Look at this little. What's this country here? Let me make it bigger. Do you recognize that country? Here,
It's
what's that?
India.
It is. Wow. So you're learning that your country is the basis of all these languages that all went all the way here and all the way to the United States. And you're asking me to explain NLP to you. Something's wrong with you. And
Yeah.
that is the problem of Indians today. They are segregated from their past. And
Hmm.
so you're getting to the top with your past, but you're segregating yourself from your roots so you can't progress. So you need to go back to learn who you are.
Yeah. I can get that.
And
And
then you'll be
also,
a master of NLP. You're in the
that's true.
country. You're in the master. You people speak several languages. And you're asking other people about NLP. No. So now what's your
Yeah.
next question?
Sure. That's true. That's true. And also, Vishwas is honest at it. Yeah, I'm honest at it. Can't help it. Yep. And also, like, Shubhendu is asking a question, and how is misinformation taken care while training the model? So, how is misinformation taken care when we are training models?
Misinformation. Now you get to another topic. Misinformation. Is misinformation taken care? But what is misinformation? Like, for example, you're full of misinformation. You didn't know that you are the roots of
Indo-European language.
Indo-European languages. You didn't know that you had AI. You didn't have a camera, but it was packed with AI. That Google, what is misinformation today can be divided into several parts. Misinformation, low level, it's just bad data, typos. I was writing I don't know, AI, NDO, or Indian with AIND. So those are typos, spelling mistakes. Those are basic
Mm.
spelling mistakes that GPT-3 can correct. Okay, there's a module in there, grammar correction. Okay, that's the very basic level. Then you have the bias of the training model. It's just that you just didn't put the right parameters I showed you before in there. So you're just getting bad. That's why. But then you get to a high philosophical level. What is misinformation? What is misinformation? Like, let me give you an example. India is a poor country. I hear that every day. I work with Indians every day, and they say India is a poor country. What do you think?
I don't think so. India is
But
not
why don't
poor.
why they okay, but on TV you go to ABC, NBC, CNN, they'll always show you this place in Calcutta where people yeah. So in the minds of people, India is a poor country where women are beaten to death every day. They can't go work. Women can't work. They don't have food. They're living in villages. Uh, I even wonder why people don't say Indians are living in caves. It would make it easier to say, people live in India live in caves. So focus, focus on this. That's misinformation, right? Now you go to the United States. And I would say the country is a rich country. Oh yeah, but then why don't 1.5 million people have electricity? Why don't they have water? Water is cut off when you don't pay it in the States, so you end up with no water. Why is Los Angeles, when you go to Hollywood, full of tens of thousands of homeless people sleeping on the sidewalk? So, what is misinformation? What I'm telling you is misinformation is what you think of other people. And then people say that's misinformation. So, if I go to New York City and I talk to Montana and I say, in India, there are a lot of rich people. And there are about 300 million people that are doing quite well. And in fact, they're going to be the second world power. They're going to say, that's misinformation. That's fake news. So fake news has become what the other person thinks. So fake news has become your opinion. So Donald Trump, for example, says something that's fake news. So let's ban him from Twitter. Let's ban him from everywhere. From Facebook, he's banned. We don't want to hear him. But then you have half of the American population that's Republican. So what is misinformation? If you go to Twitter and you type "I like Trump" and Trump is great, poof, you might get censored. Or if you say the elections in the United States are not very precise. So what is misinformation? So when you're talking misinformation, you're talking social media. So you need to get away from that because it's done. You need misinformation on social media so that people get emotional and they click and they click and they click and you get more advertisements and more money. The more information, the more money. If you go and write a tweet, the weather is nice in Paris today. I don't think anyone will read it. The weather is nice today because of climate change. No, the weather is raining in Paris because of climate change and because Republicans don't believe in climate change. Whoa. Then you can get your popcorn out and eat popcorn. It's going to go bing, bing, bing. The weather is bad in the United States because Trump said that there is no climate change. So
Yes.
I would say you're in India and you have a very powerful industry, clothing industry, aerospace. If you go to industry, there's no such thing as misinformation. It's done.
Yes.
We're manufacturing bottles like this so people can. So there's no misinformation in here. There's no misinformation if I want to build this little thing. So just stay away from social media because misinformation is the main natural resource to produce social media. It's because there are conflicts. Otherwise, no one would go there. So go to industries, and misinformation doesn't exist there.
Yep.
If I'm manufacturing this pen, it has this weight. So go to work, to corporations, and give them intelligent things to do with classical software, and put just a tiny bit of AI somewhere. Don't go get a job saying, AI, I'm going to change your corporation. No, I have basic knowledge in C++. We'll do classical software, but I have this little AI thing that can help from time to time.
That's true.
So
And also, like,
misinformation is a resource to
yep,
make billions of dollars.
to some
Why
extent.
would you want to take it out?
Yes.
And they only take out the misinformation that will get the people even angrier. So they'll go back and say, it's a business.
Yep. I think some of the questions, and I think Here there is a question on fairness on NLP. How is it taken care today?
Yeah, it goes
Right.
back fairness. It goes back to the
Fairness.
misinformation thing. Stay away from that. Go
Yep.
to a factory where they're manufacturing airplanes and food. There's no such thing as fair. What's fair? Is it fair to say there are things we can say in India you can't even say in the United States anymore? Is it fair to say that all white people are bad people
Hmm.
that are racist and should pay black people back because they were slaves?
Got that.
Now, this sentence in the United States, if this was an American podcast, I'd be in tremendous trouble because I'm not even allowed to say that sentence because it might imply that I doubt that this is true. I might have some doubt. But
Hmm.
I could be speaking about a white person. In fact, my family that immigrated to the United States around 1910 that were extremely poor, that had no shoes, that had no clothing. You don't imagine how poor immigrants were in the early 20th century. They didn't even know what was going on in the United States. They didn't even speak English. They came in a boat. They were taken
Hmm.
off the boat. They were put to poor quarters with no toilets, no food, no nothing. Calcutta, the worst part of Calcutta you can imagine, that was New York in 1910 for an immigrant. And then
Got
this
it.
person grows up and he has a son like me that doesn't live in the United States. I live in Europe. I live in France. I was born in Germany and I live in France. But when I go back to the United States, someone's going to say, you're going to have to pay back. And I said, what am I going to pay back? My family
Hmm.
suffered tremendously. Why am I? I'm just bad because I'm white? You're not bad because you're black, but I'm not bad because I'm white. So fairness is a cultural bias in itself.
Sure.
If you go to India, so that's the United States. If you go, I'll continue while Vishwas is talking on his mobile. If you go to India, you can say things and you can't say other things. If you go to the United States, you can say things. In each country, you can say things and you can't say things. So I would say fairness, stay away from it. It's relative, and you just follow. The only way you do it is follow government laws in each country. There are laws in the United States. There are laws in France. There are laws in Germany and Europe and England and India and China. Just follow the law. Work with a lawyer if you want fairness. Okay, so I don't see any questions. So now we're in a little pause until Visha comes back. So let me, if anyone's watching, let me share my screen again. And let's go look into some code while we're talking. So if you go back to where I was, talking about fairness, you have content filters. See, you can use a content filter engine. We can use a content filter engine here to filter input and to classify the input and filter it out. So you can even save your result in a JSON file if you find that the filter is unsafe. Like here, you can say never get vaccinated, and you can see some bad words in here. GPT-3 will detect it already. You don't even need to train it. It will say this is unsafe because you see this value 2 means unsafe. Then I store it in a JSON file. Then it can go back to a dictionary, and then I can improve. You can do with classical programming to filter the words with your dictionary that you learn from GPT-3 and use a content filter alpha. Okay, so now let me go back to the session. You're back. Put your mic on.
Sorry for that. So yeah,
Okay. So
like last
maybe
question from my side.
last question, because Dennis
So
has to go back to work.
yes,
Uh,
I can understand that.
because if I don't go back to work, then I can't make these nice podcasts where I share these insights with you, because I'll
Sure.
know nothing.
Sure. Like now my question is all about like how is the compute optimized for all these kind of an theoretical aspects that we are talking today. So how are we actually optimizing the compute today, and how are we thinking at the scale deployment for all these kind of problem statements?
Now, that's an excellent question. It's a killer question. You have two worlds right now that are separating at such a speed that no one's noticing. I would say in this direction. So you have at the bottom, you have the geek developers, the generation I come from. Okay, we're the geeks. We're the one that invented the nights with pizzas, Coca-Cola, everything you see in TV. We're the one that worked like crazy with at code level, bash level on Unix systems you see in the movies. Okay, that's the world I came from. Now the world I'm in now, because I'm not staying in that world. Okay, I've left that world long ago. The world here is going up to cloud AI. It's going to the cloud. You're going to supercomputers. So starting 2006, I began migrating to the cloud, away from local computers. Starting 2012, that's 10 years ago, I forbade any developer to use a laptop to develop. In my company, no one used the laptop, was only to connect to a data center and to cloud algorithms. That's 10 years ago. So what I'm saying is the power you need for a transformer, like GPT-3 was trained with what? 10,000 GPUs. Now, if you can afford one GPU, one V100 that's worth more than $2,000, go ahead. You have one GPU. But you'll need at least 12 GPUs because we use a GPU per head. So if I have 12 heads for my transformer, I need 12 GPUs to really do the big model at scale. If I'm working with a GPT-3, I need 10,000 GPUs because I'm going to train horizontally and vertically at the same time. I'm going to train 170 billion parameters at the same time. So it's going like this, up, 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 where you're going to have to pay to use computers. Now, Google is manufacturing domain-specific supercomputers that we can rent, and a corporation can rent it for about, I would say, $15,000 to $20,000 a year, which is very cheap for a company. It's very cheap, which means that you're going to have to work in a corporation, or you can use OpenAI, and it's very cheap to use OpenAI for educational persons. You pay, but it's very cheap, but you'll be using their cloud. So we're talking cloud. In any case, cloud. For example, I'm on a laptop. I can take this laptop and throw it out the window. I'm not using it. Everything I'm using is on the cloud. In fact, in the evening, I use this for OpenAI. I can access Google Colab. I run my programs. I modify them. I run them again. While watching TV, I can do a lot of programming, and I can also run OpenAI. I don't need the laptop. I work on other machines. So computers are parallel now with transformers. They're becoming expensive, and it's creating two worlds. Now, see the two worlds? That's the good conclusion. The world of the people that understand how to use GPT-3 and that can afford to go and use it. So my advice is like to go to a site like OpenAI, because they'll give you like $15 to begin with, and use the cheapest engines to get the feel of it. But when you go to a corporation, start with classical solutions they're asking and just add AI along the way. And they have the money if you find the good problems to solve. That is my final words. So what do you think?
Yeah, I feel that, because we thought at the scale, we thought in advance, like what if this algorithm has to work for at the scale 1,000 hits per time, what if it has to hit 10,000 hits per time. I think probably that mindset probably really changed the way that we are architecting a neural network, or else there are entity embedding, there are lot and lot of algorithms coming up. And yeah, it's such an honor that I'm in this era where we are thinking at the scale deployment, at the scale deployment of
I
our
think
models.
that many Indian engineers will not be developers
Yep,
because you have such a powerful culture. If you take the time to look at it,
that's true. That's
you're
true.
probably most of you will quickly become managers.
That's
project
true.
managers. I doubt, because of all these languages you know and the culture, I think most of you are targeting to be managers, not developers.
Mm,
I don't
that's
think
true.
it's in the genes of an Indian to be a developer. I think it's in the genes of an Indian to start as a developer and to move up.
As a program manager.
So I think that you at 2023, that you'll be like that, but in 10 years, you're probably managing a small team or something. That's what you're
Yeah.
trying to do, right?
Yeah, to some extent. Yep.
And I think that everyone that is listening has the same plan as you, and that's why India will be ranked number 2 by 2030. But you
Yeah,
must not forget your culture. Don't forget it.
that's
That's what
true.
I tell French people too, you know. Europe has a very deep culture. I say, look at your culture. Look at your culture. Look at where you come
Mm.
from. Okay, so you have a nice day. And in 10
Yes.
years, when you're a billionaire, you just remember me and you send me some money. I'll give you my bank account number.
Sure. Sure. Thank you so much, Dennis. Thank you so much for such valuable insights and such a nice session on GPT-3. I think this made our day. I think many people are very happy that they attended this session. And so thank you so much for being on this session.
Okay, so have a nice day.
And thank you so much, folks. And